Hey, welcome into the Tuesday edition of Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. I'm Joe Rexrode. Paul Kuharski in this week for Robbie Stanley, who's at Disney World. Nick Keyser here. Rainy, slick out there. Be careful. PK, dared death, stared it in the face to get here on time.
Stared it in the face. Strong backstretch. Pleased to be here. Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nashville.
I was actually pretty late, too. So here you go. See this?
Yeah.
This is product placement. Pepto Chewables.
Yeah.
I made a beef chili yesterday. Okay. Now I usually make, I got white chicken, turkey more often, made it nice beef chili. And I thought it was really good. I didn't go crazy with the cayenne, you know? I mean, I've had 2 Pepsids. And those are pretty good. Like, those are usually pretty good. And I'm on the way here, I'm like, I'm dying. So now I'm chewing Pepto.
I can't find fast relief from heartburn stuff, which I've been having a lot lately, which started with Simon and I were out to dinner not too long ago at your place, Amico's.
Uh-huh.
And we were having a good time talking, and I just kept eating pizza. And I ate half a pizza, which was probably 2 slices too much.
That's a lot.
And I really had some difficulties.
There.
My wife and I share a bottle of like Alka-Seltzer chews that are on her desk.
Oh, those good?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a shame that we're eating them at the rate we're eating them.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going through a healthy stretch, it's funny how I never need this stuff.
Yeah, right.
And then, then you're not going through a healthy, and then you go, to me, tomato-based, anything acidic, pork, stuff like bacon, sausage.
I made just like simple sliders, like ground beef, onion, and barbecue sauce sliders that you bake. And I made a lot of them because, as I said, I was expecting my boy to be around for the Super Bowl and we were going to pig out. And then he disappeared. And so there's a lot.
So you had to compensate.
So I had them 2 days in a row, and not issues to your extreme, but same thing where I'm eating the Alka-Seltzer last night, eating the Alka-Seltzer. And we're due for a new bottle.
Okay.
Do some shopping.
All right.
We can compare further notes off air about what's most effective and fastest.
No, I'm gonna look into those Alka-Seltzer. I mean, because Pepsid, which is more of it's a pill.
Yeah.
And it takes
I don't
a
find
time.
those to take. Yeah, I don't find those to be helpful.
And then you got the. I mean, we could spend an hour here.
What a show! Everyone call in with your favorite antacid.
Yeah, exactly. Your favorite. What's the one that's Prilosec? That's the one where you're supposed to like
take it regularly, no?
Well, but I think you're supposed to then be done. You're supposed to like take it for 2 weeks, and it's supposed to
cure you,
I guess. Yeah. But I don't think that. I mean, maybe for some people it works like that. So yeah, let us know on the game text and phone line driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com 615-737-1025. Your favorite antacid. We are sponsored by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/getitall. And we are talking antacids here in the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And my board here does not work. Like the light does not light up, Nick. This is really bothering me. My red light is not going on, so I don't know if my mic's
all sorts of off-the-air truths coming today.
Yeah,
like about time you said some things.
Well, I mean, this is a new one right here, but we're gonna obviously talk a lot of Titans today and still some Super Bowl stuff. But I thought,
Come on, get it clear.
Yeah.
Go ahead, do it on the air.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I thought that today would be a good day. It's like
Here he goes.
Here we go. This must be the Pepto.
This
must be the Pepto kicking in. A good day to, like the way too early. And obviously in the NFL, the issue is, there's a lot of roster change to come. But, the best teams, first of all, I mean, they're going to be lower in the draft, and they're going to, and they may add, they may lose, but you have an idea. The best teams obviously want to stay more like themselves than the bad teams, like the Titans. So I thought we'd get into way too early. It's just like in college football, the way too early top 25, which again, same thing there. Now it's like, You can do all that stuff, but there's a lot of transfer portal movement to happen still. But your top three, I just wanted your top three on each side, AFC, NFC, right now, what you
I
believe.
spent a lot of time thinking about this,
Okay,
and
good.
I'm outside the box here because
Okay.
I'm expecting, rising and falling. It's very easy to pick, the two teams that were in the championship game and one that just missed. So I looked at who teams are playing next year. I looked at free agency, who they stand to lose. I looked at needs in free agency in the draft, and I gave some gut feeling consideration to who may fade and who may come on. So, it's one man's opinion, but I suspect I'll be controversial.
Okay, good. I'm here for it.
So AFC number one, I'm Baltimore. I think give them an edge rusher. Ronnie Stanley and their fullback, is it Richard? Are there two big free agents? I think sustainable there. They need edge help, the biggest edge help, maybe defensive tackle, guard, wide receiver. But we know the core of that team is very good. They were close. They're always going to be in it if they're healthy, particularly right now with the running back quarterback combination. I think with them and Buffalo and Kansas City, there's kind of potential to churn. I don't want to say they've been unlucky, but I think they're a any given Sunday kind of team. And I think it's got to be wearing on Lamar that he hasn't broken through big time in the playoffs, and they feel on the verge. To me, I don't love them personally, but my second team is a breakthrough team. I am going to go with the idea that Kansas City is running out of steam.
Okay.
In that,
I don't think you're going to be alone.
Okay.
In a lot of people, that's one of the big questions to me.
They're
right?
running out of steam. Not just I'm not just giving like, one team finally got them and they're down. I mean, you've played 3 consecutive seasons more of these of the long seasons. That starts to wear on you. You're playing more games than everybody else every year. Showed some signs of age in this Super Bowl. Gonna inevitably at some point you start to lose some close games. Kelsey's slowing down. Maybe you miss on a draft pick or two that you haven't missed on. All of these things, there's some gravitational pull to regression to the mean. And I'm really into Harbaugh. And the Chargers pull me. Talk about gravitational pull. I mean, I've been burned more times on the Chargers than anybody. They play the AFC South, where you think 3 games are pretty easy, and Houston beat them in the playoffs. They're going to have revenge on their mind there. And the NFC East, which is, Washington and Philadelphia are difficult. Dallas and the Giants are not. They've got some free agents of concern, Poona Ford, Denzel Perryman. But there's talk of them being shoppers for people like Trey Smith or T. Higgins. And, they need wide receiver, tight end, edge. A lot of these teams needs edge. Everybody's list is edge.
Yeah. Well, especially, and then everybody watches what Philly did, and it's like, how close are we to that?
But here's the other thing. They lost to Kansas City twice, by 7 and by 2.
Everybody who lost to Kansas City lost by that much. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Division rival that made the playoffs. I could see them winning the West. Third team, Buffalo. They were plus 157 in point differential. They play the NFC South, which is a bad division. They play the AFC North, which is a good division. Don't have much in the way of free agents. Mac Hollins, Rasul Douglas, edge, safety guard, wide receiver. They need safety help, I think, for sure. But it's hard for me to get rid of them when you're looking at, you're looking at division champs here. I think Houston's going to bounce back and be good. And they were 5-1 in the division. But those are my 3: Baltimore, Chargers, Buffalo. I was tempted with Cincinnati, but you can't go a second team in the division. You got to go 3 division winners here.
Okay. Well, I mean, I didn't make that rule, but
But it's,
that
I'm
makes
saying it's
sense.
hard to pick a wild card to be one of the three best teams in the league based on the fact it's got a tougher path.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are definitely one of those teams that people will look at, but there's just so much to do on the defensive side of the ball. And again, right now, there's a lot of uncertainty on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and you don't even know, like, are they going to be the cheap Bengals? Hendrickson, Burrow's campaigning every time he opens his mouth
Right.
for them to keep Hendrickson
And that's
and Higgins.
And that's clearly, I mean, that's what they are. That's what they've been. So that's a real thing. I'm very boring because I don't have. I mean, I think the Texans are a candidate. I agree that the Chargers are a candidate. Look, I like Pittsburgh. Do they get a quarterback? I mean, the Stafford to Pittsburgh thing intrigues me, and I think that could change things. But also, I think that the defensive side of the ball for them is eroding a little bit. I mean, I'm boring. I'm Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, but the Bills to me, you know, they have serious work to do. First of all, the Keon Coleman thing didn't really work. I mean, he may end up being, fine. But when it comes down to it, then Amari Cooper fades. I mean, it's really incredible what Josh Allen did when you consider that. You got to fix that. You have to give him a difference maker. And how good are they on defense? I mean, they're aging. Obviously, like whenever Milano plays, he's a really good player, but how often is that anymore? Von Miller, they got a lot of older, they got some good guys. They got Oliver up front.
Sub.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think McDermott, I think that the OC was a big hire for them. And I think he's probably going to be a head coach at some point, and his name's eluding me.
Brady.
Thank you, Joe Brady, of Joe Burrow LSU fame. So they're there, but they to me have they've got a huge off season ahead.
See, I think they did really well. I think the Buffalo did surprisingly well in what I thought was the down season.
Yeah.
I think they'll replenish now and be more talented.
That makes sense. Yeah, if they do it well, I agree. I mean, I think they exceeded it. Then again, I think that's why so I'm not mad about Josh Allen winning MVP.
And division's still weak. Vrabel will bring a little juice, but not a lot of talent.
I mean, the Jets and Dolphins, I don't not much there. The Patriots will be an interesting team for sure, a team to watch. And I can't. I look around. I mean, we haven't mentioned the Broncos. Maybe that's a little disrespect. Not a Broncos guy.
I'm not a believer in Knicks, and I think Sean Payton is a little bit overrated as a offensive mastermind.
They were way better than I thought. Bo Nix included this year, so maybe the ceiling isn't as high as some Broncos fans hope. Okay. All right. We come back. We'll get into the NFC. Robby and Rex Show 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. Fitting tune here from Nick Keyser. Make sure you're being
Not predictable at all.
Well, it's a nice. What, do you need more of a deep cut? You need more of a rain deep cut,
Yeah,
to satisfy you. Okay,
yeah.
a lot of songs.
I'm only
rain
happy
related.
when it rains.
There you go. Garbage.
Yes.
Nice garbage impersonation there.
What's become of her?
I don't know.
Is she living or dead?
I don't know. I hate when I mess that up either way.
Shirley Manson.
Either think someone is dead and they're not, or alive and they're not. I mean, I think she's alive.
Never know with rock and rollers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Shirley
She's alive.
Manson. Yeah, okay, 58 years
Nationality?
old. She's Scottish. Yeah.
Bingo! Look at you. You're on fire this morning, despite your stomach problems.
Yeah. Well, and kind of on fire.
Now, is somebody like Shirley Manson?
Not literally, though.
Is somebody like Shirley Manson rich? Like, is she sustained by Garbage's success? I'm always fascinated by this question.
Well,
like, because they were, I don't know about one hit wonder, but like two albums. The one with I'm Only Happy When It Rains, huge. But is that enough to live off?
I would say yes, as long as you tour. I mean, that's what it is. Right? Yeah. That's how you make your money, right? I mean, so I think that they're
touring now, are they?
I think they've been around and out. I mean, I've never seen them live. I would. I'd see them. But that's how you do it.
Anybody
right?
wants to do that work for us? Look up like Shirley Ann Manson's wealth.
Yeah, there you go. Net wealth of Shirley Manson. That'd be great to know.
I'm always fascinated by this. What it takes to make it for life.
Well, some people, it's like you hear, yeah, we're still getting royalties off our one hit in 1974. I'm like, man, that must be amazing, right? But I think
sometimes those royalties, people talk about getting royalties that
it's
are
like a
pretty tiny
$8 check.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's all about tour. That's why these reunion tours have. It's like, hey, man, I gotta get some cash, So I feel like Garbage has been out there.
Yeah. Also, how many of us are suckers enough to go see Garbage? Like, I'd like to see that song, but am I gonna pay what, $40, $45 to see a band that hasn't put out anything that I know since then?
I mean, we're probably gonna go see Psychedelic Furs at Brooklyn Bowl in a couple months.
I would like to see Psychedelic Furs. They got a much deeper catalog though.
Do they? I mean, they've got like 3-4 songs that I really like.
Love My Way.
Yeah. The Ghost in You, etc. Pretty in Pink. I mean, I don't know. I feel like those bands, they also, when they get together on a little tour,
if you have three of them,
then you've got
but then you cut the money 3 ways, and then how lucrative is it?
Well, there's that
if
too.
You're playing Brooklyn Bowl, or if you're playing
right, are you playing Ascend? Are you playing right? I mean, these are all very good questions. Vincent and Dixon says No Rain, Purple Rain, November Rain. Yes, these are all good rain songs too. All right, let's get into the NFC. So
you go first.
No, I like you going first. Your level
first?
of research is blowing me away. So go for it.
Philadelphia, I mean, you can't deny. Point differential 160 this year. They play the NFC North, which is difficult, though I think there's going to be some regression there. They play the AFC West, which is very difficult. They've got some tough free agents. Bond, who we were raving about yesterday, Sweat, who's coming off a tremendous Super Bowl, Milton Williams coming off a tremendous Super Bowl. They don't have a lot of needs. They're a young team with a pretty solid roster. So they could use reinforcements, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, defensive line. I mean, what a luxury with the offensive line and defensive line that they have, that you look at stories about their draft needs, and those are mentioned. I mean, that's a place to be, where you're that team and you can go draft offensive line and defensive line. But I mean, the Eagles are the team to beat, obviously, right now. I'm really going out on a limb with my second team here.
Okay.
All right. Because I think Detroit, I love Detroit, and I love Detroit's personnel, and I hope Detroit's healthy. But you lose both coordinators, man, on a team that was that cohesive. And I think there's going to be some issues there.
Yeah, you lose both coordinators. You hope you at least got to the Super Bowl. but
Yeah.
you didn't.
And they're in the NFC North. They're playing the AFC East, and I'm not sure about who they're playing. Forgive me there. Or no, they're playing the NFC East. That's not bad. AFC North, tough, right?
Yeah, the Lions schedule, which obviously the first place schedule is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for drop off there. I'm going crazily with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay.
They had a 117-point differential. They're playing the NFC West, which is completely unimpressive to me. Even if the Rams are good, they kind of just slide by. They're playing the AFC East, which is a one team division to me. Their free agents are easily re-signable guys. They're getting old is my one concern. They've hired Josh Grizzard, who's a young coordinator, but he was chief lieutenant for Liam Cohn. So they're maintaining continuity. It's harder and harder not to fall in love with what Baker Mayfield's doing there and to give it credit. And they're in a crappy division. I mean, Carolina's not going to do anything. New Orleans isn't going to do anything. Atlanta might be turning a corner, but they're a 500-ish team. I think the Bucs have a pathway conceivably. And I'm going to your division. I think Detroit's going to sink. I don't know what Minnesota's doing at quarterback, but I find it hard to believe they're going to be as good, though they're tempting. Packers, one of the youngest teams in the league. Like everybody's under 25. They don't have any free agents because all their guys are young. They need a center. They need an edge rusher. I take the Packers third. So I'm going Philly, Tampa, Green Bay.
So here's where I'm.
And I know that's a wacky threesome, but I'm trying to crystal ball it.
Well, but the NFC is, I mean, to me, it's a lot. It's just more wide open, right? Just because other than Philly, because you don't have. I mean, Philly is obviously they're the champion. They look like a super team. I didn't necessarily think that of them all year.
Here's the one team everybody's going to slot is Washington. Washington beat four teams that were decent this year, and their schedule flips to like from easiest in the league to toughest in the league. And that second-year thing for a quarterback and a franchise, they're going to be big spenders in free agency, but things get a whole huge degree more difficult.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Washington, this is the start of something. I think Jaden Daniels is going to they're going to be knocking on the door for a long time, but it's almost guaranteed they're going to have some step back from last year. They're not sneaking up on anybody. The QB, again, look at Stroud and the Texans this year. It's not all on him or whatever, but what the OC gets fired, which is bizarre. A guy who a year ago everybody was talking about him being a head coach.
Eagles are in front of Washington, so it's a harder
track. Yeah. So the team that. And I'm with you on Detroit. I think they get their edge back. The roster still looks really good. Is this going to be the start for Goff of like the Tannehill situation here, where you have that terrible playoff game and it's kind of a little bit like, okay, you had your little window, but it's then
scarring loss.
And
is that a scarring loss?
Yeah, and then just again, like how good is Ben Johnson? I think he was a great OC, and we'll see about him as a head coach of the Bears. But that's just asking a lot to replace that. But my team that I'm gonna put in there, and I think a lot of people wouldn't, because I'm with you on the Eagles. I'm with you on the Packers too. I mean, I think that's the team that's set to rise in that division. But the team that I'm gonna put in there, and I know a lot of people are gonna start writing them up, but it's the San Francisco 49ers, and it's about getting people back healthy. They're older. They got some Greenlaw is a free agent here. I mean, they got some of these guys that but most of their key guys they have back. There are questions about the quarterback, and I get it, and I don't think he's ever going to be a great quarterback. He's a great story, but I also think he's good, and I mean, we've seen them. I mean, obviously they got to the Super Bowl last year with him. And I think that I don't think they're done. And I think some people do. and maybe you do.
I tend to
You
think
tend to
they're
think that
heading
they're
towards that.
headed toward their
Can they
end.
win consistently without McCaffrey? Because McCaffrey's never going to be whole again. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. And I don't know, but I don't know for sure that that's true, right? I mean, if you're right, then yeah, that's a challenge.
I find it hard to think of them getting 17 games out of him. So, you hope for 13 and 10 of them with him like fully himself, and then which 10, and then you're like schedule monitoring.
But don't forget too the injuries at receiver this year. You know, I mean, are they healthy and whole
Well,
there?
they're looking to trade Debo too, and then what's your talent level if you trade him? They do have a lot of picks. They've got 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. I think I heard on the show preceding us coming in. And they tend to do well with that, which is going to take them from, help make them younger.
Yeah, they need that, and their defense too. When their defense is whole and on the field, it's one of the best defenses in the league. They've got Saleh back as D coordinator. Say what you will about him as head coach of the Jets, but he's a pretty good defense coordinator. We'll keep going with this, and we're going to get into the Titans sort of outlook here with obviously a lot of questions there. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, sponsored by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Talking NFL 2025. And a little bit of Beatles there. Why don't you play that when Robby's here so he understands that the Beatles also created heavy metal. So we're talking the NFC, PK. The Niners, I think that I'm buying on them. I'm buying on them, and I think a lot of people are giving up on them. But you bring up fair concerns, and again, as
They were
pointing out,
6-11. I think people don't realize necessarily how bad they were, and that's at the bottom of a weak division. I mean, the Rams and Seahawks at 10-7, weak 10-7s to me. Cardinals 8-9, 49ers 6-11.
yeah.
How do you feel about the Rams and Seahawks? I'm not excited about either of those teams.
No, I'm not.
The Rams are moving on from Cooper Kupp, who's, a critical factor for them.
Old, was
for sure. But, talk of even considering moving on from Stafford.
Well, you got Stafford's wife, taking him to task on the podcast, which is probably ends up with him getting paid more. I can't buy. I don't know what the plan would be if Sean McVay really wants to move on from him. What is unless they absolutely love one of these guys here in the draft? Are they one of the teams that I doubt? And we're going to get into your teams that are quarterback needy / potentially dumb. I doubt the Rams.
No, the Rams are certainly not on that list.
Right?
Here's an interesting development on that Stafford front that I sent you yesterday. The Giants hired Chad Hall as assistant quarterbacks coach. He's Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law. So this wife, who's noisy, and more power to her. I love, when you get the family information. It's another piece of the reporting puzzle. But her brother now works for the Giants.
That's interesting
in the quarterback mix.
Yeah,
there.
Does Stafford want to go L.A. to New York? Boy, that's now that would be interesting. Look, I still think highly of Stafford as a quarterback. I think he goes any place and immediately makes them legitimate.
Absolutely elevates.
But yeah, it's just hard for me. But it's hard for me to buy the Rams moving on. But I'm with you. I mean, look, Puka Nacua is a terrific player. They did a fantastic job in the draft on the defensive side of the ball last year, and that's why they exceeded expectations. So they're a good example of a team that you get in the last couple drafts. Really, up front defensively to collectively replace Aaron Donald. If you have that kind of
did.
What's that?
They really did.
Yeah, I mean Fisk and
two
Verse
guys.
and the year before the kid from Tennessee. I mean, yeah, you draft like that up front, and you change your trajectory as a team. And look, think about their game against the Eagles in the playoffs. They gave the Eagles they gave them problems. And, and a lot of it was that defensive front. So,
but if they're moving on from Stafford, either they love Stetson Bennett, who's the only quarterback they have under contract otherwise, or they're seeing something in this draft where they're loving somebody, and it's not Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders.
What if it is
Dart or Milroe or McCord or somebody like that? I think.
What would it take for the Titans to deal one to the Rams as they did 9 years ago? I don't even know where are the Rams picking? 20?
I mean, they're in the 20s.
I mean, you're talking about to move down there. What would the Titans, what would you take? It would take,
and it would be a move down and move back up potentially.
Maybe
the Rams are 26th.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you're getting a bleep ton.
Right. I mean,
to go to 26.
I mean, it would be shocking to me, if the Rams, if that's what the Rams were planning to do, right? Be shocking. But look, I am not going to be surprised at all if and when someone is in love with one or both of these quarterbacks at the top of the draft, and that's what. Again, we're going to get into that in the 7:00 hour, but that's what the Titans have to hope is that happens. But So I think, obviously, look, there's a lot of things that are going to happen with these teams. I mean, I could make a case for the Vikings to be a good team. Tell me if Darnold. I mean, I just can't buy that if they're going to the basically the rookie coming off an ACL. But they won 14 games with Darnold. That happened this year,
and it was their plan.
right? And the Falcons. I'm intrigued by the Falcons. I hear you on the Bucs. I think they're certainly the favorite in that division. And so you win a division, you get a home playoff game. I think they're going to be good. The Falcons intrigue me. I think the Falcons have done some things with their roster.
Yeah, it's all about Penix, really.
It is.
And I mean, you got a good start.
I mean,
but
Bijan Robinson is
big starts. I don't, you can't put too much weight into it. You need to see more body of work. I wasn't a big believer in him coming out, so I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon, just like I'm not all the way on Knicks. I think Knicks gets figured out to some degree, but it's obviously a good marriage with him and Peyton.
Yeah, it's way better than I laughed that whole thing off, and I was dead wrong. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. So the Tennessee Titans, PK. Here's the question that I have, again, not knowing what they're doing at quarterback. There's a ton to change about this team. So there's a limitation in this conversation, but imagine, a great offseason. Like again, you go back 9 years when you traded that number 1 pick and you improved your win total by 6, and it could have been more, and you could have won your division in that 2016 season off one great offseason and building on, you had some pieces in place, including at the time a young quarterback that we all thought might, figure it out, might actually be the guy. But how many more wins is realistic for the Titans? From 3 to, 3 to what?
I mean, I think you want 7 minimally. I don't know the path to it. We've got the biggest single question an NFL market can have with who's the quarterback. You don't know who the quarterback is. It's awfully hard to know your route to gaining 4 or 5 wins. But I think the expectation's got to be you get to 7 or 8 wins. It's still under 5. There's no more 500, but still not a winning record, but a significant gain to get to 7 or 8. Show you're on course. Your stuff works. Could be enough for Brian Callahan. I think would be enough if they win 8 games. I think, Brian Callahan would be judged to be on course.
Depending on, how it is. It's like, show me how it goes. Yeah. Exactly. Like
and
how do you come about that?
What's the progress?
Yeah.
This team was not any better at the end of the season than it was at the beginning of the season, really.
Okay, we need to take a quick break for Ed in Jersey to yell at you. Ed in Jersey.
Edward.
Go for it.
Good morning. Good morning. Just your fraudulent Titan fan here for 50 years. So, PK, come on. Why don't you let me have the floor just a little bit while you look up peptides or whatever you need to. But so in 1978, Earl Campbell came on as a rookie. Yes. Did I only see highlights? But he was a galvanizing sports figure. Okay. So as a 9-year-old in 1978, I gravitated toward him. My family was a Steeler fan family. My brother, 4 years older, I was very competitive with him, and I wanted to root for someone different, some team different, and they were rivals. So I picked the Oilers. I fell in love on Monday night watching him against Miami rush for 199 yards. And I'm telling you, I stuck with him. I stuck through this team following him from a sports ticker in the early 80s because I could not see them, and watching Brian Gubble give me highlights at halftime. So how dare you question that I am not a fan? When he was traded in 1984, I stuck with him. Bought a satellite dish so I could watch him for years. I'm telling you, it does not matter how you become a fan. You're trying to apply logic to fanaticism. How do you do that? Did you take a class at Columbia that taught you how to do that? I mean, how can you rationalize how anyone has love for their sports team and how they became that way?
I never
just don't get it.
Ed, thank you. That is a terrific, one of the best calls I've ever had. You are absolutely dead on accurate. PK can stew in that, and we'll get back and get his response. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. All right, PK, your response.
Yeah, like many people, Ed, who I love, is getting emotional about my fan rooting guidelines and putting words into my mouth. I never said that Ed's not a true fan of the Oilers. Ed adopted the Oilers and then the Titans. Okay. And Ed is maybe one of the biggest Titans fans I know. Ed is all over the Titans. Mm-hmm. Ed loves the Titans.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that when Ed chose the Titans, it was weird. Okay, and now and I allow for some of this, a rebellious fan choice, right? There are some young people who see what mom and dad are rooting for, or that mom and dad went to Ohio State and intentionally in rebellious form root for Michigan, or they see that they are Indians fan and they intentionally root for the Tigers or somebody that the Indians hate. There's a degree of that. I hate that for the parents and for the family dynamic, but I agree that happened. Also, there's so many people out there taking this so seriously. These are my rules and how I'd like to see things happen. You're perfectly entitled to say blow off.
No, good.
A lot of people, though,
I'd like to say that right now
on Twitter are acting like they're really frustrated because their fandom doesn't fit my rules and they're really struggling with this. I like that you're giving me
you have some kind of
power.
Yeah.
I like that you're giving me this much power. All I'm saying is I think it's the healthiest, best way to grow up rooting for teams in your town. Here's a number one reason. They're your hometown teams. Mm-hmm. And I think going to the ball game and stepping into the stadium for the first time, you probably have the same memories I do, where you see the grass through that tunnel is a big deal. And if you choose to be a fan of the Seattle Mariners, unless you're rich, you're getting to do that very little. And if you do it for the Nashville Predators to see the ice and the Tennessee Titans, you get to do it once in a while with your parents or whoever. It's an experience. It's a city thing. And then when your team gets good, you get to root with the whole city. It's a communal experience. Instead of having picked a guy who happened to go to your school or went to some random school who you were fascinated with, and you adopted his team somewhere in the middle of America randomly.
Again, this coming from the fan of an English soccer
this
club.
Makes no sense. Internationally, you can do what you want. There's nobody on your porch.
No, your rules are very weird. Craig says, I grew up in Nashville, but I'm from a big Catholic family. Is it okay if I root for Notre Dame? Yes. Yes, Craig, you are allowed to root for Notre Dame.
I have a different issue with Notre Dame.
Yeah? What's that?
I just think people think it's like some fantastic, maybe it's gotten better, but I think Catholics in general regard Notre Dame as like a phenomenal school. And I think it's not nearly as good as people cast it to be.
Yeah. Okay. Based on what? I mean,
based on my personal rankings of schools. Like
forget the U.S. News and World Report. We got PK's college rankings.
I don't think it even ranks that great in U.S. News and World Report.
Okay. I don't know.
I mean, I've never seen it mentioned with the top, like with Northwestern, with Stanford, with Duke.
I'm interested now. I'll look it up. Meanwhile, since we're also talking about heartburn today, I've got a texter who says, get some Gaviscon liquid for your heartburn. It's a mint. Crushes it within 10 to 20 minutes
also
nearly
ginger.
every time.
Gaviscon liquid.
Gaviscon liquid. There you go. We got some you have the ginger chews. I mean, I'm about to chew more Pepto from
you don't look well.
The beef
your face
chili
generally gives off a I don't feel well look. So when you really don't feel well, it takes it to another level.
This is wild.
Ugly,
again, I hadn't made thank you. I hadn't made a beef chili in a while. I mean, I put some cayenne in it, but my goodness, this is insane.
Yeah, your age, you should be backing off spice.
No, I know. I should. But it's like you're trying to make everybody happy because I've got, son wants as much spice as possible. Wife, daughter, not big fans. I'm a big fan, but really need to chill on it. So I tried to.
Can't you
sprinkle
some spice on at the end?
Well, yeah. I mean, he still puts hot sauce when he is a bowl. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. I think it's probably the tomato-based aspect of it, but it's a real problem. Thank you. All right, so Tennessee Titans. Yeah, so here's the thing. I think, first of all, these 7 wins, I mean, I think that's like it's unrealistic to think that they're going to be a winning team next year. It does happen in this league. It is possible. Especially if they were to go the veteran quarterback route, have a great draft, have a great free agency period, which, again, it's very important that they spend and that they get people because they're bad and they have money to spend. But, I'm with you. I think the Callahan aspect of that is really interesting too, right? Like, because he is one of the coaches. Who are the coaches, primary coaches who are going to be on the hot seat when the 2025 season begins? It did not used to, at least it doesn't seem to me, PK. It didn't used to be too often that you'd have a second-year coach be in that situation, right? I mean, first of all, when you usually get a head coaching job, you take over a bad situation. But, I mean, that's how it is now. There's 1-year tenures in this league. There's certainly 2-year tenures in this league. And to me, I mean, who else would be?
I think Miami's starting to wear out his welcome.
A little bit.
Starting to wear out his welcome. I think Cincinnati fans are probably getting frustrated that they're not getting the full squeeze out of that. Though I think he's good, and I think the Brown family is very. I mean, look at his predecessor and how long Zach Taylor is going to get. Does that correlate to how long Marvin Lewis got, which was forever and ever?
What about Steichen?
Steichen, I mean, that's just Irsay doesn't want to deal with it. It feels like to me to say that those two guys are in fine shape.
Obviously, Dayball. I mean, he's
obviously
he's going to be
Giants are
very much
very thin leashed right now. Saints are just starting.
There's not that much else out there. Not really, you know?
No.
I mean, Dayball.
Cardinals have some time, you would think.
Yeah. And they were, yeah, we'll see. But,
and there's some rumblings in San Francisco, people about Shanahan, which is crazy to me. He's a guy that probably should, be semi-permanent to work through things, but you never know what happens there. He'd be snatched up.
Yes.
Obviously, that would be just like we need a change of scenery.
And he needs it, and they need it. Exactly. And look, if I'm wrong about them, because I think they're going to bounce back pretty big next year. But if I'm wrong, then yeah, I think it could head that way. But it is more like all right, let's try something new. You try something new, and he would be the most coveted coach out there, I think, without question.
Yeah, and the idea of finding somebody better, I mean, that's a dangerous territory.
All right, we come back. PK has been investigating the dumb teams in this league who might be really interested in that number one pick. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Second hour here, Robby and Rexrode, sponsored by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. We are broadcasting for the Bisbee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Paul Kaharski in for Robby this week. Robby's on the teacups. Nick Keyser producing. And quickly, the text line, I'm not, when I'm microphone one, PK, you know, Robby does a much better job.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. I know. We all know this. I know. So sometimes I get a little bit behind, but just want to hit a couple quick ones here. Someone says heartburn is like gout. It's mental. God, I wish that were true.
That's a funny thing to say to somebody who's suffering from it.
Yeah. I wish. Believe me, if I
it's
could.
all in your head.
Yeah.
Nothing's in your chest.
Keith says PK has a lot of bizarre rules to live by. No wonder the poor guy sounds miserable all the time. Ed also texted in. Good call, Ed. He said, thanks, I feel better now. He also points out people need to realize in the 70s, following baseball was more the rite of passage, following your parents, not football. That's an interesting point.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to that for sure. You had a news item, PK.
I wanted you to reflect on this. The U.S. under-17 men's national team kicked off 2025 CONCACAF under-17 qualifiers with a 22-0 win against the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, the U.S. soccer team does not outscore any U.S. soccer team.
22-0?
22-0. Chase Adams scored 10 goals.
Well, that's horrible.
How do we feel about
that? It sounds, I mean, come on. This is obviously not a competition that should happen.
I mean, it's how it's set up. It's the very early stage group stuff.
Are you suggesting that this is like a cause for optimism for the future?
No, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm looking for your reaction to unable to stop scoring situation, which is what it seems like.
That's like
200.
That's like 230-0 in basketball.
Yeah. Do you pull back and knock the ball around and stop scoring?
Well, I think that to me in situations like that, if you've emptied the bench and it's people who hardly ever get to play or score, it's hard to ask them to not play, right? So that would be my answer. I mean, it's like in football,
at
even
15-0.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, it's like, okay, guys, let's go ahead.
And goal differential is going to be big in this tournament.
yeah, I think they'll be all right there. Wow, that's gross. All right, let's get into the Titans and something you've been working on at paulkaharski.com, which is trying to. Now, I saw something today, PK, and I don't know because the sound was off. It was on NFL Network, and it had, again, it was like flash on the screen. It just said Titans may be willing to trade number one pick. So again, it's probably just like we're speculating
like it was big news. The Titans are willing to trade the pick, won't pass on a generational talent. It's playing catch up.
The stuff that they're
when he gets it, it's news. When it's 3 weeks old,
right.
He's just catching up now after the Super Bowl on some of the bottom feeders of the league. What I did, I wrote a piece looking at. I was thinking, there's so much bad buzz out there about Cam Ward. I was thinking, is it going to take somebody really stupid to like Cam Ward in order for the Titans to fulfill this trade down thing? And when I left here yesterday, I sent texts to a couple of reporter friends in Cleveland and in New York. And I asked them how they think the Browns and the Giants feel about the quarterbacks. And they're like, oh, they like they like them.
Oh, boy.
So that put that at ease. But then I also looked kind of at, who are the quarterbacks under contract for these teams? Who did they most recently draft? What's the clock on the general manager? And how long have they been quarterback starved? How long has it been since they got good quarterback play, winning quarterback play with a reasonable passing yards per game, touchdown to interception ratio, and a passer rating?
Yeah, because starvation can definitely derange the senses.
Things.
Yeah.
And the most starved team, it isn't the Browns. I mean, the Browns got a good season out of Baker Mayfield in 2020. 11-5, 26 TDs, 8 interceptions, makes you go back and wonder about how things went so badly there. Giants, Do you count Daniel Jones? He went 9-6-1 in 2022. That's the year that got him the contract. 200 passing yards a game, 15 TDs, 5 interceptions, 92.5 passer rating. I don't count that, but it's not terrible. Otherwise, you go back to 2016.
He won the playoff game, and there was a lot of praise that year for Daboll and working with QBs. But in retrospect, it just looks different because he's been kind of revealed as not good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going back to 2016 and Eli Manning. Raiders, only 2021. Derek Carr had quite a good season, 94 passer rating. But the Jets, you have to go.
The Sanchez?
Well, not quite that far. So Rodgers had a decent season, but they didn't win. So that doesn't count to me. You have to go back through Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor, Rodgers, Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, and Zach McCown, all the way back to 2015. So it's a decade. To a journeyman, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who went 10-6, threw for 244 yards a game, threw 31 touchdowns and 15 interceptions, and had an 88 rating.
Which is
so that's a decade of Jets starvation since they've had a consistent quarterback play that produced a winning record.
Yeah, and even that, I get in the midst of that, and he was a fascinating player because he could
Oh, he's the hot
spin it,
but
yeah. Boy, would he
3
throw,
weeks
he
of heaven and 3 weeks of hell.
So even then, you knew, if you're if you're in the organization or you're a Jets fan, okay, this is fun for a minute, but it's not. So you're going back to to when they actually had someone they believed might be their quarterback. I mean, I'd love to know. I mean, even obviously Mark Sanchez was a disappointing tenure. I mean,
gosh. He went to a couple championship games.
Yeah, no, he did. They had a very good team. They had a great defense, and
those were the good Giants. But I think desperation wise, it's the Giants because Joe Shane's clock, he's in his 4th year. They're 18-32-1, 1 playoff appearance, 1 playoff win. He extended Daniel Jones, which is a miserable thing. He very famously not only let Saquon Barkley go, but let a camera in the room for a conversation with his owner telling him, I'd hate for him to wind up in Philadelphia. And we all watched him wind up in Philadelphia, and we just watched him set records while he won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. This guy's got the shortest leash of anybody involved in here. He needs a splash or something to extend his clock. And Cam Ward would extend his clock because, what good does it do you to fire your general manager a year into Cam Ward?
Well, that's the thing. It's and if you're him and you do this, in theory, maybe okay, so this is what I'm being judged on. So maybe you extend the clock a little bit too, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. A year in,
this is
no matter what he does, if they win 3, if they win 6, if they win 8, you're saying, well, it's a multi-year project. Firing me and bringing in a guy who didn't draft this guy isn't going to help you with him.
Right. Let's all stay on the same timeline.
Yeah. And Daboll too, conceivably. Teams are trying to be patient with these guys, but they're as quarterback desperate as anybody. In Cleveland, the whole thing's messed up by Haslam and Deshaun Watson, and so what they do, but they've had a billion quarterbacks. It's well documented. And so they're always quarterback desperate.
Yeah. And what they're going to do is going to be fascinating. We'll continue this discussion. Make sure to hit us up on the phone or text line. Driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com, 615-737-1025. And the YouTube chat, which I've been ignoring, we'll also get to that too. Coming up next, Robby and Rex Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Nashville's best deal this week, 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. 312 Pizza Company serves the best pizza in town, as well as Chicago-style eats like Chicago dogs, Italian beef sandwiches, and more. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get half off a $30 gift card to 312 Pizza Company while supplies last. Welcome back into Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We're talking about possible teams that might be interested. PK wrote it at paulkarski.com about such teams. But we also talked previously in the show, PK, about how about the Rams? What if the Rams' plan, for example, is that they absolutely, Sean McVay thinks Shedeur Sanders is the perfect guy to run his offense.
So I went to Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator. And I had written about this previously, which you could read at paulkarski.com, like how accurate are these trades? How realistic are the trades that they offer you? And broke that down. So you can read that separately. But I went here and offered a trade to the Rams to go from 1 to 26. Huge.
That's
huge jump.
Remind me real fast. When Jeff Fisher traded with John Robinson,
they went to 16.
16.
And then they went back up to 8.
But initially 16. So this is
John Robinson.
10 spots more than that. And that was a haul.
That was a haul. So I got number 26, number 90, number 100 this year. And the Rams' first round pick, second round pick, and fifth round pick next year.
So by my count, that is an addition of 4 top 100 picks.
Correct.
That's 4 more than you would have had.
And a first and a second next year. I mean, that's a pretty damn big haul. And with 26, you and I talked through it in the break, and we settled on Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. And at 35, I still got Trey Harris, a wide receiver from Ole Miss. Then I stopped paying attention and just let it fill in. So Shamar Stewart and Trey Harris with the first 2 picks,
SEC baby,
plus all of this draft bounty. I mean, I don't think it's a preposterous thing to consider. Now, we have no idea if the Rams, if this is part of what the Rams are thinking as this stuff about potentially moving on from Matthew Stafford comes in. Now, if the Titans are getting Matthew Stafford as part of this deal, changes obviously the calculus of the whole thing.
Boy, he'd be mad about that. You're talking, but I mean, obviously, yeah.
But what's Matthew Stafford worth? I mean, he's got a big contract. If you're taking on all of the money,
but he's pretty cheap right now, isn't he? I mean, his deal is pretty. I thought pretty reasonable relative to current QB contracts. We'll find it, but and it doesn't have to be the Rams either, right? I mean, is there anybody else lower in the draft who might look for a jump like that?
Well, you never know. I mean, that's the question. I mean, if there's an outlier there who's trading further down with you, that's great. But again, you're on this seesaw where you want the Titans to trade down and get a bounty, but they also need superstar players.
Well, that's the whole thing.
And Abdul Carter is, looks to be a superstar player at a position that they've neglected for far too long. So that's put me question. In the bank of a trade down to ideally 3 with the Giants, where you're probably getting Abdul Carter. And if you're not getting Abdul Carter, you're getting Travis Hunter.
Right. That's the question. What you just laid out there, which is a ton of picks, which is if you draft well, you have a chance to really transform your roster with a lot more spots and with what should be, again, if you make good choices, players who make a big difference-making players, starters, and you can find great players at those spots.
Matthew Stafford
how do you compare that to how great is Abdul Carter? How, and even Travis Hunter, like how much of a difference does that one guy make as opposed to all those picks?
Abdul Carter's contract. That doesn't come out for a while. Matthew Stafford has a $23 million base, but he's going to leave behind $49 million in dead money, which is, complicated. And that makes you wonder where this talk's coming from, what's prompting it. unless the Rams are looking to get ahead on some things in terms of their finances.
Another possibility here to me in that range, and they have 8 picks this year, so they have extra to give, is at 21. Is Pittsburgh like, okay, it's time? Again, they tried a couple years ago with Pickett. Baby hands didn't work out. Where do you go? They get him like 17th, right? He's the only first round quarterback by 17.
17, maybe
but
19.
Are they in love with either of these guys? That's an organization that's had incredible stability. They've also had, they had a lot of stable years with one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
And they've done very poorly replacing him. And it's hard to imagine them without another big-time quarterback. Not saying that these two would be big-time quarterbacks, but until they get another big-time quarterback, they're going to continue to be what they are, a team that's good enough to get into the playoffs and bad enough to lose immediately. And while the whole country looks at them and says, cry me a river, there are a lot worse situations to be in. In Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin throws around the standard is the standard. And I've got friends in Pittsburgh and they say, well, what the hell does that mean? What's the standard?
Yeah.
We're the Steelers, and the Steelers,
right,
are meant to do more than that, more to get to the playoffs and lose.
Right. Not having a losing season and the longevity, it's all great. But at some point, you're just okay. And you don't have a quarterback answer. So I think they're a team to definitely keep an eye on. And again, is this would be a scenario where, okay, you're going way down, but you're probably picking up a ton in return. You're sacrificing the potential to get a possibly great player in an Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter, but you're getting a lot more players because of this. If the Steelers are that team,
and more next year. Right. I mean, you have 2 firsts next year. You can do a lot. And then your hope is that a team that takes Shedeur Sanders and a team that takes Cam Ward, combined with these teams that took quarterbacks last year, that some of them remain very bad and are up at the top of the draft again. So, if you're not up at the top of the draft again, some of the teams that are up at the top of the draft again are not quarterback needy and are open to you going up there, which would undo your 30 picks in 3 years and your 12 picks in the top 100 in order for you to make your one big move to get your one quarterback who you're pinning your hopes on.
Dustin from Hopkinsville on the text line driven by WilsonCunningham.com says there's going to be at least 3. I'm not even worried. Raiders, Browns, Giants, always looking for a dumb decision to make. They'll trade up for a stadium hot dog. Jacob from Murfreesboro says the Titans need pick. They also need superstars. I don't like the idea of moving down as far as the Rams is, hoping the Titans can get someone great in the late first, early second. Winning cures all. But right now, who are Titans fans tuning in to watch on this team? And another texter says, would Hines buy out Hellman's if Levis got traded to Pittsburgh? There you go. I think Levis
is no longer on that stadium, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's Acrisure.
Yeah, good pull by you.
Thank you. No, thank you.
I don't even try on stadiums that have been multiple renames or banks.
I just remember
banks that are letters.
Yeah. Well, I just remember last time when the Titans played at Pittsburgh. What year was that when we were there? Like 2 years ago, right?
I mean, how long has it been since you traveled with the Titans? 4 or 5 years?
I think just 1 actually. But yeah, because I just remember being like, Acrisure? What? This can't be. It's Hines. We're in Pittsburgh. Acrisure? Get out of here. Texter says, definitely the Giants. Mara publicly has said that he has no more patience. Another texter says, trade down twice, have as much capital as possible for next year's draft where they can possibly get a more predictably worthy QB. Again, this is going to be one of my guys, there is no one next year right now. This is not like, oh, Caleb Williams and Drake May are coming next year. Anybody right now thinking, first of all, it sounds like Arch is not even coming out next year. I don't know if Arch is good. He's a good athlete. He's a good runner. He's a very good prospect. We all know he's
the bloodline.
Okay, maybe. But like the idea that Arch is going to be clearly like a number 1 pick QB, I have no idea about that.
Get that family around.
All I know is that Quinn Ewers, yeah. I mean, it'd be great to have Peyton around. He's hilarious. Do some commercials. I mean, Quinn Ewers kept him on the bench. I mean, Quinn Ewers fine. He's probably going to be like a 5th-round pick or something this year. But that should tell you something to maybe pump the brakes a little bit. And then who else? Carson Beck. I mean, some people think Nico, but Nico's talented, but he's not that
so
guy.
fast.
Sure,
this
it
you're
could
a college
happen.
Football guy.
Oh,
A guy plays 4 good games, and all of a sudden he's a consensus number 1 pick.
No, I totally get that. Like, again, I didn't like 2 LSU guys. I thought Burrow was pretty good going to his last year. Oh, God. Jaden Daniels, I see an NFL QB. I don't know.
Even coming out.
Going in his last year, yeah. And then it's like, oh, holy cow. No, it happens, but it doesn't always happen. And there's just no one right now that we know for sure. Like, again, Caleb Williams and Drake May, you knew for sure right now, going into the next year, they're going to be at the top of the draft. They're just too good. They're too talented. We don't have that guy right now.
But there's a bigger pool, it seems like,
Yeah.
of potential guys to wind up. This is a bad class.
Yeah.
The odds of next year being as bad a class are slim.
No, I think it will end up being better, just realistic, because there are more possibilities. But I'm just saying, like, there's just a lot of, just be bad next year, and then you're at the top. And I just don't. There's no one for sure right now. There's no sure thing. All right, we'll continue this just when we come back. Robby Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, sponsored by First Horizon Big Bank Muscle Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/getitall. This is a great Alice in Chains intro, but, you could have played Rain When I Die by Alice in Chains, which would have gone with the theme today. I'm just saying.
Arch, talking about his athleticism, Arch Manning, compared to his uncles.
Yes.
You sure hope he didn't get their genetics on this kick of destiny. I mean, how could they be that bad? It's not that hard to kick a short field goal. It really is. If you practice it a little bit, it really is.
I've looked like
that's
them
embarrassingly bad. Like real athletes should not do it unless they're going to. It was pathetic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've tried, but I never played soccer. So you're a soccer player,
Yeah, but I don't think you have to have played soccer to go out for a half a day with some coaching and figure out how to not shank it far left where you look like a guy who's never done anything athletic in your life.
Yeah, that's fair. But Matthew, look, Arch, and there's some agreement on the text line. It's like, I understand. Like, you'll take his history. Someone texted, history will suggest he'll be good. Yeah, I mean, we'll see, man.
I would take Manning blood and drip it around the Titans practice field if I could. To have their DNA and I would let them pee around the field.
Oh, there we go.
Any Manning secretions,
any Manning DNA,
haircut. If they get a haircut, I would scoop up the hair and go sprinkle it around the Titans.
Easy
field.
on the secretions.
Anything.
I'd
stop short of number 2.
Yeah, the Manning sperm bank at.
I would give him that.
I mean, look, Arch is a very good athlete, is a very good prospect. I think he's going to be a good college player. This of course he's going to be the number 1 pick it just blows my mind. It's just not like there's a lot to find out about him. It's very hard.
Get on the high
But
track.
I will look, he can move like Grandpa. He can actually run like Grandpa. So that's a good thing. Unlike Uncle Peyton and Uncle Eli. A couple of statues
both did
in
all
the
right,
pocket.
being statues.
I guess Eli moved okay.
Stafford, the contract thing, upon closer examination, cut or traded pre-June 1st, saves them $4.3 million. Now, I mean, $4.3 million is not a lot. Is that a reason to get out from under Matthew Stafford, $4.3 million?
No, but you said the total dead number is 40-something?
Yeah, but his cap number's 40-something. So
he's actually
close to 50.
Still, he texted me. He's getting paid 26, and 26 is if I'm Matthew Stafford, I'm not happy with 26 million right now, not at all. I mean, if I'm him, I'm not happy with that. You should be. If you're Matthew Stafford, the importance that you have in that organization, if there's any hope of them winning in the short term, it's you as quarterback, and you should be. You should be north of 40, right?
Well, he signed a 4-year, 160 contract with 60 million signing bonus and 130 guaranteed.
Yeah. So he's got.
So I mean, this is the back end of that.
Sure.
He's done pretty damn well.
Yeah.
And he's 37.
I hear you. I think there's a lot of teams. Well, I don't know about a lot of teams. There are some teams who would gladly take him and pay him if they could right now. And give him another, 2 years of a lot of guaranteed money.
60 with incentives.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. I mean, at least. Texter says, what if nobody's buying and Sanders is somehow available at the top of the second round? Should Tennessee take me? Yeah, I mean, first of all, no, I hate the flyer on the QB thing. So
I've wasted 2 picks on
my immediate answer on that is no. And if he does fall to that, then you ask yourself why. Remember, that just happened with the Titans. And didn't work out so well.
I think if Sanders falls that far, somebody trades into the back of the first to get him because you get that 5th-year option, which is
remember
helpful.
We thought that was happening with Levis too, and then it just kept not happening. And then the next day, the Titans, get him. It's just
that's a league.
The quick answer: heck no. As the texter points out, yes, his dad was going to be a wide receiver. He actually was a wide receiver at Ole Miss, but he had a neck injury. I think he played 1 year, if I'm not mistaken.
Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper Manning.
How many TV appearances will Deion Sanders make during the first round if Shador falls to the second round? What's over under?
Oh man, well that's yeah. I mean, if obviously think about some of the draft, Levis and his girlfriend and sisters, and they're constantly on the camera as he sat there.
I said Shador. I'm asking Deion. How many?
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. And then so you had Rodgers. So if Shador becomes that guy, yes, Deion will get a lot of airtime for sure. Deion will get a lot. That would be very interesting. I'll be surprised. I don't think he's falling. I mean, I think he could fall to like 6 or 7, something like that.
I mean, if he fell to the Raiders, that seems like a perfect Raiders guy.
And there's word that they like him, but then again, do you trust that or not?
Yeah. Well, does Brady like him?
Right.
That's the question there.
Well, that's that. I mean, that somebody reported that he does, and I'm failing to credit again who
I mean, you failed to credit. It's instilled in you by the Athletic.
I think about crediting people, like I want to credit people. Sometimes I remember. So the Shador thing is, it just feels to me like Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 pick in this draft. That's where it feels like it's going. And Shador is a little bit more of a wild card, but I don't think that we're going to see the all-day drop from him. But, I suppose it's possible.
I mean, there's so much quarterback need, and people force it, and quarterbacks rise. It's just the way it works all the time. So what are the odds this year? There's incredible discipline, and people say, we really need a quarterback, and we like Shador, but we're going to hold off and stick to our values here really strictly.
But remember, in 22, and like Robby always points this out, like there were mock drafts the day of the draft that had Malik Willis going like 2 in the draft. And he went in the 3rd round, and the one quarterback went number 17. So, I mean, that year was a year where the teams actually, their actions spoke to
the quality of the quarterback.
The quality quarterbacks, and the report, it all actually, I mean, that was, to me, a little bit of a shocker.
That was
because I'm with you.
Huge exception.
Because I typically believe that's exactly what's going to happen, is someone will talk themselves into the quarterback at the top of the draft, even if the quarterback is not that level. I think this year, I think Cam Ward, with his traits and with the good side of his game, I think someone will absolutely talk themselves into it. Who, I don't know, but I think your Giants scenario, I think the Giants make sense, and I think that's a good scenario for the Titans to get a little bit more and still get your guy.
Who's Cleveland taking number 2? Garrett not traded.
Yeah. That's a good question. Probably, that's a really good question. I would guess Hunter. I would guess Hunter. But
that'd be the perfect scenario for the Titans if the Giants trade up and Cleveland takes Hunter. But you really crossing your fingers on them taking Hunter.
Yeah, like you could look, if you're Cleveland and you have a chance to have Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett together, like you can win a lot of football games and not care what you're doing at quarterback, But is that overkill? The thing about the Cleveland Browns is that they actually have a pretty good roster. Like you get decent, and that's where, again, with all their issues, they're looking for the next guy. They're in a total bind. But you could make the case for them to draft Sanders if it goes like that, and for them to take the QB next, and those guys go 1-2.
They let's see. Oh, goodness gracious! I have to disable my ad blocking in order to see their depth chart. 2025 depth chart. They got Myles Garrett and Isaiah McGuire is opposite him. So I mean, they're not loaded at end. Cornerback, you got Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson. So, Greg Newsome at nickel.
Newsome, the guy that the Titans should have taken
at nickel
when they took Farley that year.
So, they've got room for either.
Yeah. All right, we come back. Someone's going to do a rant here on Robby and Rexrode. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
You're talking about a microdiscectomy. Ugh. By the way, I didn't even realize this. He also has had a torn ACL in the past and sciatica symptoms from lifting weights that required a different surgery. So 2 surgeries plus an ACL. What was that last word? Sciatica. Sciatica, and I may be totally butchering that, symptoms from lifting weights.
You probably
sciatica?
are.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh, it's sciatica. Oh, my God, I'm an idiot. Someone says heartburn is like gout. It's mental. God, I wish that were true. And it's that time again. I got to say, man, I still laugh every time with sciatica. It's an all-time moron moment by me. Sciatica. Twice. Said it twice. I mean, a radio station in Virginia wanted to have me on as a guest. They had me on as a guest just to, they saw it on the internet.
They had
like, hey, you seem like an idic. Will you come on our show?
Howard Stern had a classic one where they set up Gary Delabate, a caller, with like all these mech words, that started with the MC.
Okay.
And he was having him pronounce them as he was reading them. And then he got to machine and he said McKine because it was all set up. He said McKine, and they're all like, machine, you idiot, machine. And that haunts him to this day. The same.
Nice.
Not as bad as sciatica.
Sciatica, my goodness. But first of all, I would just like to, you have a rant you'd like to give, but I do want to just take this moment to apologize to Kyle Tucker and his family. Every time, I swear, it's like every time if I let loose with a borderline near profanity, like words you're allowed to say, but still like words you don't necessarily want little kids to hear. Or today we're talking about the Manning sperm bank over it. It's always when Kyle is driving his young children to school. So apologize.
This is a Kyle problem. You owe no apology. Does Kyle's child not watch television ever?
What?
There are ED commercials on constantly.
I think he's
female lubricant stuff.
Okay.
There's another one for you.
Please don't ever say that again.
That's all over TV. That's unavoidable. This is a parenting problem, not a radio broadcasting problem.
I think he's mostly messing with me, but he did say that he heard a parent group is organizing a Stop Joe, Protect Little Ears petition. So I got to remember, though, like 6 a.m. hour, that's when you just say whatever you want, right? Like no one, Chase is asleep. Like we could just absolutely go FCC nuts in the 6 o'clock hour. The kids aren't in the car
complete
yet.
Liberation for all 3 hours.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, give us
this is called a rant.
Yeah, this is called a rant. You're going to rant
rather than just open a topic and talk like Joe does.
Great.
I'm on my way to cutting the cord. I'm in my 21-day trial of YouTube TV for my TV that's not smart enough. My main TV downstairs. I got a Fire Stick. And look, it's going to be a delight to call Comcast, which has ripped me off for years, and hope they're not a sponsor, but and to say I'm out. But people make this sound like it's a glorious changeover, and it's not. It's way too complicated. First off, Comcast maybe has some more better things than I thought. The remote control is backlit. When I'm sitting watching TV in the dark, I could see the remote control.
Okay.
On a Fire Stick, I cannot. It's like I'm looking for a Braille system here. I can't see it. And you got to push 100 buttons to get to anything. There's no back. I can't go back to the last channel I was watching.
That one, that's a fair criticism. That is definitely a fair one. That's probably my least favorite thing about it.
And I thought because all of the things are up there, I'm watching a lot of Paramount Plus now. I just started Landman. So if I want to go from that over to CNN, it's a 6-step process. Now it's a little bit easier on there than it was on my on Comcast, but there's too much going on there. I just saw who's your boy, the dude with glasses that smokes pot and does his podcast, the annoying whiny guy.
No
Joe
idea.
Rogan?
No, not Joe.
I don't know. Now I'm fascinated to know. My boy who has glasses and smokes pot.
Yeah, he's got a CNN show, and he's also got Bill Maher. He did a piece on this too. Like streaming sports does not make you can't fast forward on a lot of these things. Like it doesn't show you like what you're fast forwarding through, so you know when to hit start again. Because
okay, you're messing that up. I mean, YouTube TV has got the 15-second thing, which I like a lot. Go back 15, 15, 15, forward 15, and you go to live. That's a pretty good function. I think you're just not doing that well.
All right. Well, I thought it would be more intuitive, quicker. Everybody raves about it. It's not as intuitive as I thought it would be. And for the Super Bowl, because I know there's some delay and some setting or whatever, I went back. I'm overlapping with Comcast. I just went back to Comcast and watched it. But how Fire Stick is all the rage when it doesn't have a backlit remote is beyond me.
The backlit remote is I mean, that is a fantastic old man.
And that's been like 10 years of Comcast has been a backlit remote. I don't know how everybody wouldn't have caught up to that.
Not to do free advertising for anybody, but I did make the switch. Here's where it's a couple of things that to me make it clearly worth it and worthwhile. Some of those criticisms are fair. One is, and this is a little bit less of a thing because you're always on an NFL Sunday, like you're at a Titans game, so it doesn't. But the four is amazing, and that's college football too. And so for me, and especially how my job has changed now at the Athletic, I mean, to have 4 college basketball games on at once and have like 2 different sets of 4 and going back and forth.
It sounds great, though I have trouble honing in on one. So
yeah, I mean and also the limitless. I record every single college football and college basketball game, and there was no limit to the space. Whereas we had DirecTV before, and it was constantly like, oh, it didn't record because you were maxed out. Yeah. Oh, we better get rid of these shows.
No, I've set some things up to tape on my DVR, but I have to tell you, I don't know where the DVR button is yet. I haven't discovered that in my adventure.
Okay.
So I set it to record a bunch of stuff, but I don't know where it is.
It's library. Yeah, go there. Some people are claiming out here that there is a type of remote you can get with this where you do have a back button. I would like to know about that. Because
do you use Fire Stick?
Yes, and don't have that, and that is one of my because Now, if you're
you could use your phone, you can have it on your phone, so your phone's automatic backlit. But then you have to get your phone to come to life.
There's so much.
Get on that app.
So much advice on the text line. Matt says holding down the select button will go back to your last channel on YouTube TV with the Fire Stick. Okay, I don't know. I didn't know that. There's a lot of stuff on here about this. Also,
but see how complicated it is that I need. All this counseling.
This may be good though. Like this.
No, I appreciate it. Tweet it to me.
Yeah.
At Paul Kowarski.
I'll read through this during the break. Also, someone said I lost the text, but basically, female lubricant with PK at 8 a.m. What a joy! I gotta say though, the backlit remote, man. I mean, what are you talking about? Just use turn a light on.
Do you sit in the light and watch TV at 9 o'clock at night?
Yeah, I am a huge, and I get into fights with people in my home. It's not good for your eyes to watch TV in the dark. I put the lights on at all times.
On?
I never, absolutely.
Well,
I never watch TV in the dark.
But I don't think most people do that. And there's a reason the backlit remote for Comcast is a hit. And it's not because people are watching TV with their lights all on.
We do have a... I can't keep up with the comments, but thank you for all the participation. I'm going to go through this during the break.
It's a good rant. It was a complaint about something as opposed to just opening a topic.
Yes, there you go. Good job, Paul. Indy Ben said, you guys sound like it's a high likelihood that the Titans trade down. I still feel the most realistic scenario is they stay at 1 and take Ward. They're QB desperate. You're not getting the return and trade you would want in this draft compared to past returns for the first overall pick.
You don't know that.
Hold on. We will react to that and get back into that topic coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Third and final hour. This red light still messing me up, Nick. Third and final hour, Tuesday edition of Robby and Rex Show 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Paul Kaharski in for Robby this week. Robby and Rexrode sponsored by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. We are broadcasting, as always, from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And right now, caller 4, we're going to do a little giveaway, Nick Keyser. This is a family 4-pack of tickets to the Athletes Unlimited professional basketball games at Nashville Municipal Auditorium, Saturday, tip-off, 5 o'clock. See star players including Alicia Clark, Sydney Colson, Lexi Brown, Jordan Horston, Isabel Harrison, and more. So caller 4 for those tickets. And coming off that rant, as Kyle Tucker continues to send texts that make me laugh.
One final thing. I say
Cal,
CNN, and it takes me to the CNN app.
Oh, the talk
not
thing.
the CNN channel.
Yeah. We got a lot of advice on. I've learned some things about my remote, so I'm going to try the hold the select. Apparently, that's the back button. I did not know that. So thank you, PK, for your rant. And Cal Tucker thanks you, too. Hey, Cal Tucker, kids, here's some swear words for you. Apparently, PK has no problem.
Parent, Kyle. Parent.
Yeah, PK is going to swear at your kids. You parent your kids, okay? That's how it works
I didn't
here.
swear at all.
That's how it works.
I
But you
obey-
have no problem swearing.
I obey FCC
You're-
regulations.
you-
But in daily
you've talked-
conversation, I have no problem swearing. No.
I mean, you've been talking Manning secretions today, so and of course DJ Burnside already has a.
I
an
think the Titans
illustration
should buy
done
that
on
and sprinkle it on their fields.
Indy Ben is he's joined the chat. It's nice to hear from Indy Ben. He disappears for stretches when the Colts are especially embarrassing. And I would like Indy Ben for you to tell me right now how you're feeling about the future of Anthony Richardson. But he does weigh in on the Titans. He said, PK, I've heard nothing but that from national analysts and Bettingfield. Former head scout for the Titans, who, of course, writes for your site, who is both QBs rated mid-first-round prospects at best. So the rest of the league knows they aren't generational. Who would they give up? Why would they give up a haul for one of them? You're simply hoping some team gets stupid and has to have one of them at 1 overall. Hope is not a strategy.
That's what I wrote yesterday. But it's not hope. These teams convince themselves that they're good. They've done it over and over and over.
There's a
These
history.
guys get drafted at number 1.
Yeah, there's a history that definitely suggests that someone's going to do it. As we talked about, there is also the 2022 year that did kind of smack me in the face. Like, wow, no one talked themselves into going to the top of the draft to get a quarterback this year. How bad must this class be? And based on the returns, they had the quarterbacks pegged in that class. But most years, you can count on this.
But, people convince themselves Jameis Winston was fantastic. He was not. Jared Goff didn't probably deserve it. Baker Mayfield is good now. I don't know that he was as good as number 1 pick. Kyler Murray.
Where would Baker Mayfield go right now if there was a draft?
If he was a rookie coming out?
Yeah,
I think he'd be better than these guys.
I mean, he'd go
at
the top of the draft, right? And
I mean, Bryce Young is 2 feet tall, and people convince themselves he's fantastic, including you. Believe it.
I'm not done with him. I'm not out on him yet. But yeah, I mean, look, I went through the Super Bowl era one day on here, and it came out to 1 in 5 first-round quarterbacks. Now, I didn't just do the top of the draft; I did the first round. 1 in 5 works out, but even the 1 in the 5 that works out, of those, it's a small percentage that works out, right? That works out like you actually got yourself a generational superstar. But at least you got a good player, a good starter, 1 in 5. So
David Carr and Tim Couch were number 1 overall picks.
It's an incredible list of Cade McNown, Akili Smith, and on and on and on. I mean, it's so, and that'll continue. But I think Indy Ben, hope is not a strategy. That's true. But history tells us that there's a high likelihood someone is going to talk themselves into it. And, the process that's coming in the next few weeks is important in that regard for sure, right?
Read my piece. The combination of quarterback desperation when you've had a drought, combination of a GM needing to change the tone with his team, provide hope and save his career, all of these factors factor in. I told you, you maybe weren't listening. I left here yesterday thinking kind of along the lines of what he's saying. Like, boy, the Titans are really, their formula is counting on somebody to be stupid. Then I sent texts to friends in Cleveland and New York. Hey, your team, how do your teams feel about these quarterbacks? And they're like, oh, they really like them. They really like them.
Yeah. I mean, so now again, that also gets into, this time of year, there is misinformation, but typically you expect someone who covers a team to
Have
be
a
able
sense.
to decipher, right? So look, it is possible that the Titans keep one and don't want the quarterback. So if, let's say, the Titans don't find a trade partner or someone won't give them enough, no one really wants to get in there, they're stuck at one. Right now, how would you break down the percentages of who they're taking?
Oh, I think they're taking Carter.
So what percentage?
90%.
90% Carter. So this is
Well,
your
I should lower that. Let's go 75% Carter. I'll leave 15 for Ward, and the rest
10 for Hunter,
and the rest for surprise Hunter/surprise.
And so you believe now, and this is your feeling, or you would right now report that the Titans like Abdul Carter?
No, I wouldn't report it.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense, especially if Abdul Carter is that guy. I think he's very good. He's a very good college football player, hard to block. I think the fact that he's at Penn State makes for unfair comparisons because I don't think he's Micah Parsons, but they both played at Penn State. Is he 10 years of 12 to 15 sacks kind of guy, or 8 years or whatever, 7 years of that? I don't know. I don't know but that's what you need to be if you're going number one overall.
Yeah. Double digits at least.
I mean, you can't be Travon Walker, who is a good player in Jacksonville, but that's
a stupid pick to take him over Hutchinson. That's the overthinking. And that's why the draft should be at the beginning of April instead of at the end.
But look, I'll be honest on that too. I watched Hayden Hutchinson a lot in college, and I didn't think he was going to be as much of a difference maker as he's become.
But you knew he was better than Walker.
I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that I 100% did. I didn't think either of those guys were worth that, at the time. So,
but is there somebody else you wanted to have won in that draft?
See, now you have to remind me of the freaking draft. We have to go back to that draft. But but that's what you have to be. You have to be yes, Hutchinson, absolutely.
Walker, Hutchinson, Stingley, Sauce Gardner, Thibodeau, Iwanku, Neal, London,
that's
Cross,
the thing. I mean,
Wilson.
And those corners both are great. And I think with them, to me, it was more clear that they were going to be great players. Now, what's more important? I'd rather have a great edge than a great corner.
Yeah. I mean, I think in hindsight, Hutchinson is the number one pick in that draft.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. Although now he's coming back from a broken leg. Brian in Mount Juliet says, don't waste our time on a quarterback. Only 3 quarterbacks drafted number 1 have won a Super Bowl: Bradshaw, Aikman, and Stafford. Is that true? Go for the edge rusher. Only 3 quarterbacks drafted number 1. First of all, Bradshaw was the number 1 overall pick out of La Tech. I mean, I don't know.
What did he say?
He said 3 quarterbacks drafted number 1 overall have won a Super Bowl: Bradshaw, Aikman, and Stafford. That seems like a fact error to me.
Could be true. I mean,
I honestly didn't know that Terry Bradshaw was taken first overall. Was he?
But also, winning a Super Bowl is not the only definition of a good quarterback. People go too far with that. Jim Plunkett won a Super Bowl. He was drafted first in 1971. Won 2 Super Bowls, I believe. So right off the bat,
80 and 83. All right, we come back. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans quarterback. We may get into, again, the 2025 predictions, early projections of the NFL. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 the game. All right, folks, tune in to 102.5, 106.3, The Game today. Vanderbilt men's basketball, it is a big one, folks. The number one Auburn Tigers are in town. Commodores take on the Tigers at Memorial Gym with a 6 o'clock tip-off. Pregame show starts at 5:30. Coverage also available on 102.5 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com. Vanderbilt men's basketball presented by Athletes Unlimited. Pro basketball coming to Nashville's Municipal Auditorium Saturday through March 2nd. Go to auprobasketball.com for more details and to purchase tickets. It's a big one. And you got Auburn, Alabama, by the way, number 1 against number 2 in basketball on Saturday. Auburn's number 1 in the AP poll, Alabama number 2. Alabama's number 1 in the coaches poll, Auburn number 2. Auburn and Alabama have never played a 1-versus-2 game in football. They are about to play the first 1-versus-2 game in the history of SEC men's basketball on Saturday. And I'm pretty freaking. I'm struggling to talk, but I'm pretty freaking pumped for it, Paul. Just
Go ahead and swear there for the kids.
I'm Freddie Preakin. So at least that's good. I wasn't saying like I'm not even gonna
whatever you weren't saying. You weren't saying.
Yeah.
Who's this dude that's texting us false information about number 1 pick?
Yeah, that was bad. He was right about Bradshaw, so I was wrong about that. He was number 1 7, but yeah, as many people have texted in, and thank you to everybody. Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, you mentioned John Elway. There's 3 number 1 picks.
Plunkett.
That one, Plunkett. There's another one. So
Aikman Bradshaw, he mentioned.
Yeah,
but don't text.
Don't text
false
fact.
information.
Yeah, don't text fact errors. We do enough on our own. Someone just texted, "This is the most Ron Burgundy thing you've ever done, Rexrode." Just reading without even thinking. Go bleep yourself, Nashville. So you had a point to make, right? Did you have a point to make? Or have you forgotten the point?
That was my point about the quarterbacks.
Yeah. Right. But I thought beyond that you were waiting on a thought. Yeah. YouTube chat. Let me get to them because I've been ignoring them today. Ricky W says Stafford would be a great fit in Nashville. A lot like Mike Fisher. I think Stafford would like it here. I think Stafford has a very limited time left in this league and is chasing another ring. You know, I mean, chasing another ring and getting paid as much as you can get paid to play football. So I don't think he would like it at all, frankly, to go to a place like this. Now, a Sam Darnold, if they devote to him and say, here's a real contract, your first real contract, and you're the guy, and we're going to grow with you. Now, that's a guy who I could see being excited about it.
I mean, is he going to have better options? I don't know. We got to see who comes free and then establish the pecking order. But this is not high on the list of places to come to get the ring. And all of these guys are getting further on in his career. Darnold's the youngest, so maybe you have the best chance of getting him because you could claim, growth on a long-term thing. But Callahan's lack of job security is a concern for anybody coming in.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. If you're Callahan, I got to think you love the idea of, after watching Darnold play this year, an opportunity like that. Did great things with Kevin O'Connell. There's translation between the offenses, of course, the same offense basically, and the opportunity to win and establish yourself and solidify yourself, as opposed to you're trying to figure it out with a Sanders or a Ward. And, then again, it's like, to me, you should be given more time if that's the choice. Like, there should be an understanding, like, okay, develop this quarterback. That's the primary job here, is to develop this into a quarterback, into a great player. If you go 5-12 this year, but you see that happening, to me, like, you should be fine, right? You should be okay. But I don't know if that's how it would work out. Look at the Eagles and their lack of, they've had, like, they're sticking with people.
They finished horribly last year. Horribly.
Right. I mean, look, I'd say, especially early this season, but in the offseason too, Sirianni was talked about seriously as a guy who could be in trouble. And then early this year, there's all this stuff with him and Jalen Hurts and all, and whatever. Not addressing that. It's still one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. But they're all feeling pretty good right now. They also have the best roster in football, and the Titans have one of the worst.
Have you heard the latest on Cousins and that the Achilles wasn't a problem for him. It was the ankle kind of having to reaccustom itself to the Achilles. Like it's a whole leg thing.
Right. Like it's
when
like you're
your Achilles-
overcompensating elsewhere. That sort
and
of
the
thing
ankle
happens.
has to relearn the Achilles, so to speak. And I mean, you always hear good injury news, when a guy gets to the off season and gets to rehab an injury like that. But a lot of confident talk about that ankle with the Achilles being a whole different deal 2 years removed.
Cousins is going to be interesting. I think last year, obviously, it reduces, I think, his attractiveness pretty significantly. Even last year, obviously, he was still a coveted QB. Yeah, look, I think his style of quarterback at a place that has so much work to do up front, I think it's a bad fit. I do. I think it's a bad fit. I think the Titans are obviously going to try to fix that offensive line, and it's possible. You covered the 2014 and 15 terrible offensive lines that turned into a really good one in 2016, picking up a center and a right tackle, right? But can you do that? Can you do something like that? And also with a left tackle coming into his own finally in that year, right?
Yeah.
It's just I think that his lack of mobility, like a Goff or a Cousins, is the worst possible fit stylistically, in my opinion.
Though, I agree with you, but you would think they sure as hell need to be getting two guys for the right side who are going to lock this thing down. High expectations for the left side to be coming into their own. Center who, depending on his timetable for returning, should be a lot better in second year under Callahan. All three of those guys, left to middle, much better in their second year with Callahan. And, I think that Brian Callahan likes a pocket kind of game. So, they got to get this offensive line right. That really is priority one. And then you should be able to put any quarterback back there.
All right, let's go to Jared in Spring Hill. Wants to talk about the Titans miling themselves after the Eagles. Jared, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, fellas. So I think, with the new regime and all these new faces and stuff, like I'm looking at it from a standpoint of like how can I get them to, or how can I buy back into what they're pitching kind of thing. And so I think looking at the two models that played out in the Super Bowl, I think it'll be awesome for the Titans to have some awareness of the players, to know, like, if everybody's saying that these dudes aren't that good, right? And so do you take the number one pick on a quarterback and hope for the boom, but maybe with little bust, or do you go with like a player like Carter, who I think is more likely that's going to be the choice under this model? But so having said all that, going in, so say they do take Carter, which again I think it'd be great for them to do that and have their evaluators come out true on these quarterbacks. What is that second round pick? Because from 35 to 101 is a long gap. What will the Titans need to do between those two picks to get back up into the play of the top 100? I mean, I would even hope the top 75 somehow to kind of get in more talent. So, like, is there any value in that second round pick at 35 to trade back to get more, potentially with another quarterback and running the quarterbacks in the second round? Like, how do y'all kind of seeing that play out in the second? Like, PK, you're great. I appreciate you filling in, but also too, really quick, Joe, from Friday, that was the most funny show. The whole 3 hours, y'all were out there 4 hours, y'all out there freezing. Great content, guys. Keep it up.
I thought it was mediocre.
Thank you, Jared. God, actually, I'm having PTSD that you brought that up. We will address that question when we come back. Robby and Rexrode 106 through the game, and Adam in Portland. We'll get to you. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, sponsored by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. And we've got Adam. You got something?
Let's hit the previous caller before we move to Adam. He was
Okay.
asking about the value of 35. Of course there's
Yes.
value in 35. It's top of the second round. People are always, after the night off, eager to get up. That 33 is a very popular pick, but somebody could offer you something for 35. And if you drop back 10 spots there, you can get yourself another pick in the top 100 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, obviously this is in any scenario, it's too bad that they don't have a third round pick. Adam in Portland, you got a quarterback thought. What's up, Adam?
When I hear people talk about Cousins the way and you see it online, they're like, oh yeah, it's the same feeling I get when people talk about politicians, man. I think a lot of it is not necessarily I hate your guy, or it's just I hate the same guys over and over. Why's it got to be the same dudes, man? Like, there's got to be something better out there. Like, even if it's something unknown, like I'm not saying like go back to like, I think all the quarterbacks the Jaguars went through that were supposed to be good and weren't good. It doesn't have to be that level, but like, look at what just happened to Patrick Mahomes, who is obviously the best quarterback in the NFL. I think hands down, he's the best quarterback. And if you build it around him, then anybody can really fit in there. So why Cousins though, man? Like, everybody pays Cousins these big contracts every single time, like he's something crazy special. But
everybody, I mean, he's been on two teams.
Three.
I wouldn't want him here though, but he's gotten a bunch of contracts, right? Like fully guaranteed. I wouldn't want that in Nashville, PK. I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like there's got to be another option than draft two unproven, probably terrible quarterbacks at the top of the draft, or pick Kirk Cousins. There seems like there should be a better option.
Well then pick your guy. Derek Carr.
No.
Sam Bradford. I mean, we know who the list is.
Sam Bradford.
But it's not like Charlie Whitehurst, man. Like, there's got to be something better. There's got to be an in between somewhere, right?
Well, name him.
I'm getting you to do it. You're the pro, dude.
I'm giving you the list. We know who the list is. It's not like we're missing somebody. You want Mac Jones?
So to your point, Adam, I mean, I think the answer, it's always the same guys, because there's very few people who can play quarterback in the world, right? I mean, Cousins has maximized, and thank you for the call, Adam. Cousins has maximized his value in this league. There is no doubt. He's one of the best to me. He's been a good quarterback for a long time, but he has, with the move after Washington stopped tagging him, the move to Minnesota, and the second, and he got another deal there, and then got this deal he has gotten the absolute most out of his value as well as anyone.
He's
probably
tired of
in
him
the
getting a
NFL.
lot of contracts because he's taken short-term contracts, because he took franchise.
I mean, the reality is I just can't look at last year, and that's great. Hopefully the ankle and all that gets better and he can return to his form, but it's hard to believe that he's not on the decline and that it's going to slow down for him. I think there's going to be a market for him, and I think he'll start for somebody next year. But again, it's the offensive line reality to me is a deterrent to Cousins.
Adam's looking at the board of all the quarterback names out there, and he wants a Sid Finch to just pop up on there, like a unbelievable out of nowhere prospect. Well, Sid Finch was fictitious for a reason.
Wait, remind me of Sid Finch.
He was the Sports Illustrated April Fool's pitcher that threw 144 miles an hour.
144. Right. Well, like he said, if it's unknown, and that's the whole thing, right? The unknown is undefeated. That's everybody wants that. Everybody's more excited about the unknown commodity.
Yeah.
Right.
Little Jimmy from Nevada State. That doesn't exist.
Yeah. The options are, and it's just not, it's not an exciting, a lot of people are not excited about this quarterback draft. Texture says, why do the Titans have the first pick, but they have the third pick in the second round?
They're tied. They win a tiebreaker to get the first pick in the first round, but then they rotate with the other two teams that had the same record. So they go to the back of the line in the second round. In the third round, they would be in the middle, but that's Kansas City's. In the fourth round, they go back to the top, and so forth.
I need to address this. Texture says, Joe says Sirianni. It set off Siri in my car. It's Sirianni, not Sirianni, right?
Sirianni.
Nick Sirianni.
I believe so.
Not Sirianni.
Yeah.
I used to say Sirianni.
Well, that's a Siri issue. It's not a Joe issue.
Sorry, Siri. Siri. So what's the command there? Siri, Annie.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
What
Siri's
does that
awful.
do?
I use Gemini now.
I
have conversations with her. Sometimes I get her to pump me up.
Really?
Yeah. I put out a recording one time where she told me how good I was at my job and stuff, and I used it as an ad for paulkowarski.com. She has a British accent, my Gemini.
Wow. Interesting stuff from you today between that and secretions.
Not my secretion.
So I don't even know where to go from there. The YouTube chat says the Rams are going to trade Stafford. They get Stafford, win a Super Bowl. Now they're going to get a first-round pick for him.
They're not going to get a first-round pick for him. He's 36, and he comes with a $24 million salary.
Osama Yamama says, funny how PK is so quick to bring up the Manning name with Arch, but is out on Sanders, LMFAO. Well, look, again, I'm not.
Well, the Mannings have a history of playing great quarterback, and the Sanders family plays defense. I wonder why I don't automatically think that the Sanders is going to be a great quarterback based on the fact that his DNA includes no quarterback, and that a Manning, who's got two great quarterbacks.
But in all seriousness, who cares?
I know, but he's saying, like, why don't I presume Shador is going to be good and I presume Arch is going to be good? Well, because Arch's two uncles are Hall of Fame caliber players, and Shador's father is a defensive back. That's why.
Okay, so right now, you have to bet a large sum of money on either Shador Sanders or Arch Manning having the better NFL career.
Well, I think I'd probably bet on Arch Manning.
Okay. I mean, I know Shador Sanders is good enough to play in the NFL. I have no idea. Great. His uncles were amazing. Manning is a great name. Love the family. Archie is awesome. Okay. He's a good athlete. Okay. I right now, I know that Shador Sanders can play the position of quarterback well enough to probably go in the first round. I don't know that about Arch Manning. I just think people are going way overboard with just because it's Arch Manning that it's, of course, he is destined to be this guy. He may turn out to be that.
He's destined to be
the safer money in that bet right now would be on Shador. That's the safer money.
I'm taking a long range bet that there's more information on Shador Sanders right now.
Well, of course there is.
Yeah.
But the information,
of course, it's safer money.
Okay, yeah, but again, I think people. Again, and I'm not saying necessarily you, although I would not make the same bet, but it's like this. It's this absolute guarantee. We all know what's going to happen with Arch. I don't think it's
a guarantee.
If he was that good, this is his second year of college this year. I watched a lot of Quinn Ewers play quarterback. If he was that good, and remember that, yes, they've wanted to sit him. The whole plan has been.
How much money did they have invested in Ewers? I mean, wasn't that partly in play?
Yeah, but I mean, they have money invested in both of them. I mean, that's no. Listen, when they were getting their butts kicked by Georgia, he switched to Arch, and he said, "I got to do." And then it was like, "Oh yeah, no, you got to go back to Quinn." The rest of the year it was Quinn. I'm just saying, it may all come together for him, and I definitely like the athleticism. I mean, we've seen that for sure. He has the tools. Seems to have a good sense about all that stuff. It's very hard to play quarterback at a level where you can be a first-round pick, and everyone's I'm taking totally assuming that.
I'm taking unknown versus known, and not that excited about.
But you're taking unknown, but you're also like and again, you're not the worst offender, but you are an offender of, well, his uncles were amazing. So okay, I mean, every great quarterback in the history of the NFL had, most of them had kids, right? Do we ever hear from them? I mean, I'm just saying it's like the people are making this leap with him that should not be made. And it's going to get worse too. So I'm already like preparing myself for it. I have no idea what this kid's going to be.
I have no idea what he's going to be either, but I wouldn't mind that family being around my football team.
But what about Deion?
I don't want Deion around my football team. I don't.
You really think
he's a pain in the ass?
Yeah, he's coaching a college football team, so he'll take some shots. They had a press conference.
He's
Who
calling the
cares?
kid during his meeting with the Titans already. I mean, he can't stay off the phone. I mean, I think I don't think he's going to be as bad as I initially thought, but I think he's an annoyance.
Yeah, to me, like if you believe that he's a good enough player,
I'm not saying stay away from him because of that.
Deterrent,
I'm not saying stay away from him because of that, but I'm saying if you're choosing a family to have around your football team, which one do you want?
All right. PK hates the Sanders family, loves the Manning
And he's
family.
also not a quarterback.
That is true. All right, we come back. We'll wrap it up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. All right, final segment here, Robby and Rexrode. Paul Kaharski in this week for Robby Stanley. We've had a lively discussion. C from Franklin agrees with you, PK. Says, LeVar Ball 2.0. Only his kids actually have talent. I will point out to you, C, that one of LeVar's kids is a great player in the NBA right now for the Charlotte Hornets. He says, I'm leaning PK's way on that one. And also Lonzo, unfortunate with the injuries. He says, I'm leaning PK's way. He's a me guy. And I said, who's a me guy? He says, Dion. Okay. Look, if you like Shedeur Sanders as a player and you like Shedeur Sanders as a person, yes, his dad will be an annoyance sometimes. Sure. Like there will be times when Dion will say something. Again, I think there's the public aspect of it. Maybe he called. These guys all have parents, right? We just don't. You don't even think about them. It's out of sight, out of mind. But we think about Dion calling or whatever. He'll say some stuff. You'll have to address it.
Not calling Mike Borgonzi.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
it's Lloyd Cushenberry's father is calling Mike Borgonzi.
I don't know. I mean,
He's
probably not.
He's not.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, it's a different deal when you have a famous Hall of Fame.
I'm not saying it's a reason not to take him.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's a headache.
Yeah, I just to me it would be a headache, but like if you're going as the Titans go through this process, if that gets more than quick discussion, to me that's just a waste of time.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a deal. I used to think it was a deal. I don't think it's a deal anymore, but I do think it's annoying, and I think at some point, if it's as bad as I imagine it could get, they'll have to put him in his place.
Yeah, I mean, but it's if he's a great player, then whatever, right? I mean, and if things are going well, and that's the thing, is when things are not going well is when it's, just like Vrabel said, that's when you test your culture right there. Titans getting Rodgers. Josh says Titans getting Rodgers, trade back the top 3. I can't totally make out that text, but Rodgers and a trade back as a potential. I think Rodgers is we haven't talked much about Aaron Rodgers today. There's going to be a lot of talk about Aaron Rodgers, though, here on this show, on every show in Nashville until there's a resolution there. And I think he's up near the top of the list of possibilities.
I mean, you're talking about movement with Cousins, and it's a big concern with the offensive line. Would it not be the same for you with Aaron Rodgers?
Not as bad. I mean, not long ago, I would say. I mean, Rodgers was
long ago.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question.
Suffered the same injury as Cousins.
He did. I still think that Cousins is Goff. Like there's no ability to escape rush. So great conditions. The ball's out fast. You're seeing the field. It's accurate. Great. Rodgers can still, I think, evade a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying it's a great option, but I think it'd be a little bit better if you're just talking about that aspect of it.
I mean, can you get Rodgers to come in and say, hey, I'm coming in to your team. I'm looking forward to what you do with your team. Then I'd think about it. I don't think he's coming in doing that.
Well, and the thing about, I guess if I'm Aaron Rodgers, why do I want to come to a team this bad? It may be.
I don't know if you heard. He has a house here. That means everything.
Well, it doesn't mean everything. He doesn't
have a house, by the way, from what I've heard. He just has land. There's no house on the land.
Oh,
yet.
I thought he built a house.
I don't know.
It's just land.
Somebody told me that.
Well, he doesn't need a house though. As long as there's like some holes underground or some caves or something, then that's his comfort zone. No, it's not the biggest thing, but it's something to talk about. It's
not something
drive
that attracts
from home.
The Titans to him. It's something that attracts him to the Titans.
Well, right. I understand that.
Right. Lots of guys want to play for the Titans.
We agree.
It doesn't matter. It matters if the Titans want him to play for them.
Matthew Nashville, who's a Steelers fan, says, can y'all take Russell instead? LOL, I don't want him in Pittsburgh.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do. I mean, Russell Wilson physically, we're talking about a lot of guys physically who are done or close to done.
Yeah, they're diminishing.
They might have
arms. It tells you the state of the position. It's hard to find good quarterbacks. And yeah, look, I really think the Steelers have to be considered one of those teams that they're not being talked about because they're not near the top of the draft at 21, but I think they've got to be considered as a possibility as a team that they do have extra picks this year. could try to actually make a move.
And I think more of these teams, look, the Titans have been burned with a second rounder and a third rounder, but a lot of these other teams maybe are looking at the second tiers of quarterbacks here. Maybe they like Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe or the Syracuse kid or whoever.
Someone asked if Jackson Dart isn't like the low cost Arch Manning, I guess, Again, will Arch Manning be as good as Jackson Dart? I have no idea. Everybody's already got his gold jacket ready for him.
Titans have been there. I say all or nothing at quarterback. If you're going quarterback, go Cam Ward. Otherwise, wait.
Okay, so you like Ward better than Sanders
Yes.
because you think that's going just because you think the ceiling's higher.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a fair. It seems like the floor is a little higher with Shedeur. I still think. Look, I think Shedeur could be good. Accuracy is still, and he's accurate. I mean, that's still if you're picking a trait, and I understand all the sacks, and so some people claim that
arm strength isn't spectacular.
No, he doesn't. Right, and Cam Ward can make some throws that he can't make, but accuracy again, Cousins. Talk about Cousins. He does not have a spectacular arm, doesn't have a spectacular athletic trait, which is why he was barely a recruit for D1. Accuracy. See the field, get the ball at accuracy. Process and accuracy is the name of the game. Matthew Nashville real quick says, is Milroe actually going to get drafted? Yes, somewhere, but I just would be very hesitant. He was so bad for so much last year. I really thought he should have gone back to college and figured it out, either there or somewhere else. But yes, and he's probably at the combine going to do some ridiculous stuff. Like he'll be one of the combine stories.
Wasn't good at Senior Bowl.
Yeah, no, but neither was Dart, right? All right, so there you go. We will be back tomorrow to get more into this and some other topics. And coming up next,
don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks.
Chase and Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.